So, hello students, welcome to Vedantu NEET English. This is Basavaraj Sir, your biology master teacher. Students, welcome to the first starter class of your botany. In this particular class, students, I'll be teaching you the most basic form of botany, students. For example, what you will be learning throughout the year, it will be covered in the next 45 to 1 hour. We'll be covering your entire syllabus. Yes, but not in detail, just the outline of it. So all of you will get a feel of botany. All of you will realize what exactly is installed for all of you in throughout the year, students. Now, if you're a 2026 aspirant or 27 aspirant, good for you. Both of them can watch this. If you're 2027 aspirant, it is better for you because since you just passed out of 10th, this becomes a foundation for all of you. Right, students? Hello, good evening, students. Good evening, Sanya. Good evening, Lokit. Right? Good evening, each and every one of you, students. So this becomes a foundation, this class becomes a foundation of what you will be learning botany in the next 2 years, right? Or 1 year if you're 2026 aspirant. Now students, let me start the first class with a simple question. Students, what is the meaning of botany? Anyone who can tell me, students? Okay, before we go to botany, students, can anyone tell me who is the father of biology, students? Anyone? Who is known as the father of biology? Anyone who can tell me, students? Anyone who can tell me who is known as the father of biology? So you will tell me, students, Aristotle. Aristotle is called as the father of biology. Now, father of botany is Theophrastus. That is father of botany. Now, students, all of you should need to understand. First of all, one second, students. 1 second. There is something issue with the camera. 1 second, students. Students, I think all of you can hear me now, students. One second. Voice, I know. Suddenly I saw so many messages. I'm like, okay, wait, students. I think you're able to hear me now. Yes or no? Audible, right? Yes? Now, students. Again, I just repeat one more time. In classification, we learn about something called as your bryophyte, gymnosperms, pteridophyte, as well as your algae. But we learn the entire evolution also there. How it starts from algae to bryophytes, bryophytes to pteridophytes to the entire gymno and angiosperms. That entire evolution thing you learn, students. Right? I know it's audible now. I know it's audible. Okay. You learn the entire evolution there. Then we learn something called as the internal structure, about anatomy, external structure, about morphology. Then comes the big boss of our botany, that is your plant physiology, right? Plant physiology. Then we have the genetics here, which all of you love, right? Students, if you love maths, you love genetics. Okay. Then we have ecology. Students, in brief, I will be teaching you every single aspect in today's class. So if you are excited to learn more about botany, to explore botany, quickly some fire emoji in the chat to let me know, sir, you are ready. All of you, quickly some fire emoji in the chat to let me know, sir, you are ready to learn botany with high energy throughout the year. All of you, students, all of you. Yes. Botany is the most interesting. Students, if you asking me any of my students who are already in my DNA batch or who have learned from me before, they know exactly how interesting botany is, because the world of plants is uncomparable. You cannot compare the world of plants. Okay, students, all of you in the chat. Yes, botany is love. Exactly, students. So, students, if you love botany from me, you are part of Bot Army. Or students, all of you are part of Bot Army. Okay, from today onwards, I'm going to give you all of you some tag now. All of you are what? You are Bot Army. You are part of Bot Army from today. Okay, students. Now, first things first, students. What first things first? You need to understand, students. You need to understand what exactly is a plant. You need to understand what exactly is a plant, students. Okay, what exactly is a plant? Okay, what exactly is a plant or plants? Now, students, do you think, first of all, do you think plants are made up of single cell or multiple cell? All of you will tell me, sir. All of us know, students, the plants are actually multicellular in nature. Yes, there are few unicellular under algae, but we don't consider them technically plants. Okay, they are multicellular nature. Okay, students, which kingdom? Do you think plants have their own kingdom? Do they think they have their own specific location in the entire classification? Yes, they do. Yes, they do, students. So they are part of something called as kingdom Plantae. Kingdom Plantae, students. Now, do you think they're prokaryotic or eukaryotic in nature, students? Obviously, students, they're advanced. They have to be eukaryotic in nature. They have to be eukaryotic in nature. Eukaryotic in nature. So they have eukaryotic cells in them. Eukaryotic cells. Okay. Now, this is very basics. Now I know all of you wanted to tell one thing. Can anyone tell me why plants are green color? Can anyone tell me why plants are green color? Green color, students. Because plants have a pigment called as chlorophyll. Plant has something called as pigments. Plant has something called as pigments. Now, students, do you think there is only chlorophyll? Do you think there is only chlorophyll, or do you think there are other pigments also, like red color pigment, yellow color pigment, orange color pigment, yellow color pigment? Yes. Do you think there are there? Yes, there are, students. There are carotenoids, there are xanthophylls, right? There is chlorophyll B, there is chlorophyll A. So there are multiple pigments present in the case of plants. Now, coming to pigment, it reminds me of a process here. Talking about pigments, it reminds me of a process where plants make their own food. What do you call it, students? What do you call that? Students, I want everyone to be active in the chat. Super active in my class. So, who can tell me the process in which plants can prepare their own food? You will tell me, sir, it is nothing but photosynthesis. Photosynthesis. Plants can prepare their own food. So, if plants can prepare their own food, students, which tropic level do you think that this is part of ecology now? Which tropic level do you think they are? Do you think plants are in the first tropic level, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth? Plants are, students, generally part of your first tropic level. First tropic level. And students, imagine if plants were not a producer or autotrophs, there would be no life on earth. So me, you, the entire world would not be existing if not for plants. If not for plants. Now, students, do you want to know a fact here, students? Do you want to know a fact here? One small fact for all of you. Okay. Let me ask you a small question, then I'll tell you the fact. You're like, oh my God, you will tell me. Okay. Students, plants give us something in return, no? See, we breathe in oxygen. Right? This oxygen comes from where? Can anyone tell me from where do we get this oxygen? All of you. So, students, but this is a misconception. We believe that majority of your oxygen comes from trees, but it is not true. Majority of your oxygen comes from your marine conditions, or from your algae actually, or even your cyanobacteria actually. Okay, so majority of your oxygen comes from your algae actually, and also the cyanobacteria. Okay, not trees. So majority of your oxygen is coming from your cyanobacteria as well as algae, not from trees actually. Okay, but we give all the credit to trees only. We have to show some respect here. We should show some respect to algae also, all of you students. Algae also. Okay, students. Now, apart from the students, do you think plants have some do you think we can get something from plants? Let's say Captain Sarpi, or let's say Jashnu, they fall sick, or Saurabh falls sick. Now this medicine, students, where do you get the medicine from? Plants, Ayurveda, all of you. So plants can also be medicinal properties. Medicinal, okay, medicinal, okay. Medicinal properties. Now, apart from medicinal, students, do you get raw material also? Yes, timber, everything. So, plant, students, we can get raw material also. Raw material from the plants. So, students, it is. Do you realize how much of a importance a plant is in your life? So, always remember, students, always remember. If you think you do not have anyone in life, plant is there in your life who is secretly always helping you out. Okay, secretly always helping your students. Okay, students, what about absence of sunlight? What do you mean by absence of sunlight, students? Sunlight is there. Sunlight, without sunlight, plants cannot survive. Okay, now students, now. So this gives you an idea about plant, students. Now let's go to the next concept here, students, about a plant cell. How does a plant cell look like, students? Now, students, plant cell actually has a outer thick layer after cell membrane that is called as cell wall. A question to all of you, students. Do you think animal cells also have it? Do you think animal cells also have the cell wall, or is it very exclusively to your plant cell? Exclusive to plant cell. So this cell wall is completely absent in the case of animals. Okay, that all of you should know. Now, students, what about fungi? What about bacteria? Do you think fungus and bacteria also have cell wall? Yes, they do. So the cell wall is present in the case of fungi also, as well as bacteria also. Even in the case of bacteria, we can find cell wall. Though the cell wall composition is different. For example, in the case of plants, cellulose. In the case of fungi, can anyone tell me? In the case of fungi, students, it is made up of chitin. In the case of bacteria, it is made up of peptidoglycan. Okay. Now, one more question to all of you, students. Okay. Under bacteria, there is one organism which does not have cell wall. Answer in the chat. Okay. I'll go to the next concept here. Then they have chloroplast. They have large central vacuole. As you can see, students, this is a typical plant cell. It has your cell wall here. It has chloroplast here, plastid. Then we have large central vacuole in the middle. Can you see, students? Large central, very big vacuole is there. Okay, large central vacuole is also there, students. Large central vacuole is present here. Okay. Now, there is also something called as plasmodesmata. How many of you want to know, students? Mycoplasma, exactly, students. How many of you want to know what is plasmodesmata? Raise your hands. See, students, again, the more you ask me, the more you learn. The more I ask you, the more you learn again. So this is called as active recall. See, I can read all this and go. I can learn plasmodesmata, I can read and go. But what is the fun in that, right? So when you do active recall, the memory stays stronger in your head. So again, let me ask you again. Do you want to learn, students? Do you want to learn? All of you? Yes? So what is plasmodesmata? Understand, students. Let's say I have a plant cell here. I have a plant cell here. And I have a plant cell here, students. In the middle, we have middle lamella here. Middle lamella is present here. Now, students, usually what happens is that since there is cell wall, since there is something called as cell wall here, these two plants cannot talk to each other. They cannot gossip here. They cannot gossip right now. They cannot gossip, like no gossiping. Now, plant cell has devised a mechanism in which the cytoplasm of one cell is connected to the other cell here. That is, the cytoplasm here is connected to the cytoplasm here. The cytoplasm connection. This is called as cytoplasmic connection. The other name of this cytoplasmic connection, students, the other name of the cytoplasmic connection is called as plasmodesmata. Plasmodesmata, students. Plasmodesmata. Plasmodesmata. plasmodesmata, students. So what is plasmodesmata, students? Plasmodesmata is nothing but cytoplasmic connection. That is, cytoplasm of one cell is connected to the cytoplasm of one more cell, where they can gossip, they can exchange things here. That is called as cytoplasmic. That is called as plasmodesmata. It is found only in the case of plant cell. Then it is rectangular in shape, obviously because of the cell wall. Rectangular in shape, students. Okay. Now, next thing we need to understand, students, is that what do you call a group of cells? Anyone? What do you call a group of cells which have a same function, same origin? Yes. What do you call them, students? Function can vary, origin can also vary sometimes. But what do you call a group of cells, students? All of you in the chat. What do you call a group of cells? Can anyone tell me, students? Anyone? What do you call a group of cells? A group of cells is called as a tissue. All of you know that a group of cells is called as a tissue here. Tissue. Now, what type of tissue do you think you find in the case of plants? See, for example, in the case of humans, we have muscle tissue. We have different type of smooth muscle tissue, right? We have epidermal tissue. So, what kind of tissue do you find in the case of plants? Now, before we go to that, how many of you are jealous of plants, students? How many of you are jealous of plants? See, humans will not grow after some time. For example, boys and girls, right? Girls stop a little early, boys can grow a little taller for some more time. In the case of humans, the height stops after some time. It stops after some time. But in the case of plants, students, they can keep on growing throughout their life. The plants can keep on growing throughout the life, and the secret behind that is nothing but the meristematic tissue. So the tissue which I'm talking about as first tissue is called as meristematic tissue. Meristematic tissue enables the plants to divide. The plants can keep on growing also. Cells to divide, dividing cells. These are group of dividing cells which make sure the plants keep on growing. Then there is something called as apical meristem, lateral meristem, intercalary meristem, primary meristem, secondary meristem. Multiple is there. So you don't have to worry, students. When I teach you anatomy of flowering plants, that time you will learn the in detail version of this. Cool, students? Cool? Yes. In detail version of this. Now, students, what about permanent tissue? See, that is meristematic. They are dividing cells. The other type of cells are called as permanent cells. Permanent cells do not divide. They are like, I am done. I have a government job. I don't want to do anything. I want to chill. That's all. Okay. They don't want to divide any further. Those are called as permanent tissue. Now, permanent tissue can be two types, simple and complex. Okay. Now, here, for example, we have dermal, we have epidermis and stomata. Epidermis and stomata are present on the outer layer here. Then we have ground tissue, parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. All of these, students, all of these are called as simple permanent. They're called as what, students? They're called as simple permanent. Simple. Very simple life they have, students. Parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. Then there is something called as complex people here. Okay. Complex permanent tissue. We have xylem and phloem. There are multiple types of xylem, multiple types of phloem. Okay. Yeah, plants don't have to give, exactly. Plants don't have to give NEET examination, students. That is there. Plants have advantage. Nothing. Photosynthesis all day, stand in front of the sunlight whole day. That's all they have. Okay. Now, these are also called as vascular tissues here. They are also called as complex permanent tissues. Xylem and phloem, students. Can anyone remind me? Xylem helps in conduction of water or food. Anyone who can tell me? Anyone, students? This xylem right now, students, do you think it helps in conduction of food or water? Xylem helps in conduction of water. Phloem helps in conduction of food. This much you should know, students. This much all of you should know. So here, students, I have given a more detailed version here. This entire PDF, students, will be available on Vedantu NEET English Telegram and also on my Telegram, that is Basavaraj Sir Biology. So on this Telegram, you can get the entire PDF. So you can go through this entire thing there around. Very easily you can go through. Okay. Now, students, now we were talking about cell, right? A particular cell can divide. All of you agree with me? A meristematic cell can divide. Permanent cells can divide. Yes, they can divide. But how does the division actually happen? Small basics, listen to me very carefully. Small basics, very carefully you should listen. Listen to me very carefully now. Very, very carefully. Okay. What exactly takes place in the case of cell division? What exactly happens? The entire cell division, students, entire cell division is divided into two categories. Entire cell division is divided into two categories: interphase and M phase. Interphase and M phase. Interphase is further divided into G1S, G2 interphase. Now in interphase what happens? In the case of interphase, a cell is preparing. Now for example, all of you are preparing for the examination? Yes. All of you are preparing for the examination. One day the exam is going to be there, you're going to write the exam that day. So the exam day is actually your M phase. It is like your exam day. It is like your exam day. M phase is like your exam day. All of you right now, students, all of you right now are in interphase right now, students. Okay. All of you right now, students, where? All of you right now in interphase because you're preparing. So a cell also, when it divides, a cell will not divide as such. It will not divide as such. First of all, it has to prepare itself to divide. This is the prepared stage. So what exactly happens in G1, S, G2, you will learn in the chapter cell cycle and cell division, which I'll be teaching you. Okay. Here the most important part is going to be your S phase, where the DNA replication happens. DNA replication happens here, not DNA duplication. Okay. Now, what exactly have in M phase? Understand M phase, what do we have? Okay. In M phase, we have something called as chirokinesis, cytokinesis. Difference you understand, student. Difference you understand, all of you. Chiro means what, students? Can anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me in the chat? What do you mean by chiro? Anyone? So, chiro means nucleus. Kinesis means division. Chirokinesis means nucleus is dividing. So, chirokinesis is nothing but division of nucleus here. So, here, students, we have a small 4 different steps here called as PMAT, PMAT, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, whereas cells undergo. So when the cells are undergoing all these stages, nucleus is dividing. Once the nucleus divides, then we have cytokinesis. What exactly happens in cytokinesis, students? In the case of cytokinesis, there is a division of cytoplasm. So first nucleus is dividing, then cytoplasm is dividing. All of you agree with me, students? All of you agree with me? So cytokine is dividing. So in animal cell it is different, plant cell it is completely different. So I'll repeat again, students. Total cycle is called as phase of cell cycle, interphase, M phase. So all of you can see, right, this entire blue part, G1S, G2, this entire thing is called as what? Interphase. Entire thing is called as what, students? Interphase here. Interphase. Right. This black part is called as the M phase. Now you can clearly see, students, this entire purple or violet region is called as a PMAT. Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. And the small pink color part is called as cytokinesis. That is called as what? Cytokinesis. Clear all of you, students? Clear? Yes, centriole also duplicate. Yes, it also duplicates. Also duplicates in S phase. Okay. So that is your entire cell cycle, students. Now this is actually mitosis. Now what about meiosis, students? Meiosis, what happens in meiosis? So you will need to understand before we start anything else, the basic chapter which I'll be teaching you is cell, the unit of life, and I'll also be teaching you something called as cell cycle and cell division. These are the 2 foundation chapters for the rest of the year for all of you. Now in cell cycle and cell division, you will understand something called as meiosis. Okay, friends, how many of you know what is meiosis? Raise your hands. How many of you heard about meiosis? Raise your hands, students. Raise your hands quickly. Students, how many of you heard about meiosis? Okay. So, if you have not heard about meiosis, let me tell you in one line what exactly happens in meiosis. In the case of meiosis, what happens is, students, a diploid cell will change into a haploid cell. So, there is something called as reduction division. Reduction division is nothing but change in ploid is happening here. A diploid cell is getting converted to a haploid cell here. A diploid cell is getting converted to a haploid cell. That exactly happens in the case of meiosis. And entire meiosis is divided into 2 parts. We have meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. So do not worry students, this you will be learning in the entire chapter. Cell cycle and cell division, we'll learn that eventually students. Okay, now this is basics. Now how can we talk about plants, right? How can we talk about plants students? How can we talk about plants and not actually include about leaf? See, all of you should know, without a leaf a plant cannot survive. All of you should know leaf is the most important part of a plant, because the entire process of photosynthesis, it starts with a leaf. It starts with a leaf, right? So this is called as a leaf, and leaf also has multiple parts here students. Hello, Shreyas is also in the chat. Yes, right? Leaf also has multiple parts here. For example, this entire wide region is called as your lamina. Then all of you should know there is something called as your veins and veinlets. Largest vein is called as a midrib here. Midrib. The largest vein is called as what? Midrib here. Then there is a stalk here called as petiole. So all of these are different parts of a leaf. Now students, more about the leaf, the anatomy, for example, right? This part here. Students, this part here, the entire anatomy, monocot and dicot, how a leaf looks from the inside, how a stem looks from the inside, and how a particular root looks from the inside. That you'll be learning in the chapter Anatomy of Flowering Plants. Again students, it is easily one of the easiest chapters and also at the same time difficult chapters. Let me tell you why. If you read the NCERT as such, not looking at the diagram, okay, I am very sure students, I am very sure this chapter is going to become a nightmare for you. Big time nightmare. Full nightmare it will become. Okay. But again, if you approach anatomy students, if you approach anatomy with respect to the diagrams, you draw the diagram, you understand the layers there, then anatomy becomes easier students. So I want to ask all of you one simple thing students. Which is your favorite chapter in botany? Anyone who can tell me? Don't tell living world. Don't tell living world to me. Living world, don't tell living world. Tell me students, which is your favorite chapter in your entire class 11th and 12th botany? Favorite chapter students. The most favorite chapter. All of you in the chat. The most favorite chapter. Let me just, students, I can't see the chat there. It's a little blurry now. Let me see the chat here students. God. Anyone? Photosynthesis, plant kingdom. Okay, nice. I thought many of you will like cell chapter. Many of you will like, I thought, chapters like your genetics, molecular basis, right? Principles of inheritance and variation. No, morphology, beautiful chapter. Anatomy, anyone anatomy gang? Anyone who loves anatomy students? Anyone who loves anatomy? Yes. Okay. Now students, now we talk about a little bit of flower, because obviously students, if you talk about plants and if you don't talk about flower, it's a disgrace. Flower is actually the most important part of a flower, of a plant, right? Because it is also called as a reproductive part of a plant. It is a reproductive part of a plant, right? Now if you look at a typical flower students, it has 4 main whorls. It has 4 main whorls here students. Don't tell living world. Who is telling living world student? Living world. There are 4 main whorls of a flower. There is something called as the outermost whorl called as calyx. Then we have corolla. Corolla is the petals. Calyx is the sepals. Then we have the androecium. Androecium is the stamen here. Stamen, anther and filament. Then we have the entire gynoecium. Students. Okay. Then we have the gynoecium. Now gynoecium is actually has 3 parts. Okay. It has stigma, style and ovary. 3 main parts of the gynoecium. Students. Okay. Now here all of you need to remember here that this androecium and gynoecium, right? Androecium and gynoecium are called as essential whorls. Without them, reproduction cannot happen. While the calyx and corolla, they are called as non-essential because their main function is just attraction and protection. Okay. Now functions of a flower. Obviously, it can help in pollination. Then we have something called as fertilization. Now here students, you will be learning something called as double fertilization. Double fertilization. Very important concept here. You will be learning something called as microsporogenesis, megasporogenesis. Very, very important concepts. Don't worry, Gopika ma'am and I will teach you that very well. Okay. Now students, now seed and fruit development. Can anyone tell me students, seed develops from which part of the plant? Seed is developed from which part? Seed is developed from the ovules. Ovules. What about fruit students? Fruit develops from the ovary. This much all of you should know. Ovule and ovary. Okay, ovule and ovary students. Now, this is a small classification which you will be learning in the chapter biology classification. For example, there is kingdom Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, Animalia. This is called as 5 kingdom classification given by R.H. Whitaker. 5 kingdom classification here. Yes. Now, you can clearly see students here, your kingdom Plantae is here. Okay. Now, if you look at kingdom Plantae, it is divided into phanerograms and cryptograms. In cryptograms, we have algae, bryophytes and pteridophytes. All of them students, they do not have seeds. Non-seeds, there are no seeds at all. Seeds came into existence from the gymnosperms. From gymnosperms, we have seed. Then here we have phanerograms, that is flowering plants, angiosperms. So if you look at a typical evolution of plants, there is your algae, bryophyte, pteridophyte, gymnosperms and angiosperms. So this entire thing is called as what? The evolution of your plant kingdom. Okay students? Thank you students. Thank you. Okay. Now students, if you want more detailed about monocot and dicot, you can see here students. But this all of you might be knowing. Monocot, single cotyledon, dicot, two cotyledons. Right? What is single cotyledon called as scutellum? So in detail, you will be going in the next following classes you will go. What monocot and dicot students. Okay. So when will I start plant physiology? Eventually we'll start plant physiology. Plant physiology is very easy, don't worry. It's very easy, plant physiology. Okay. And students, here's a basic difference. Can you see? Single cotyledon, double cotyledon. Venation, you can see here students. Reticular to venation, parallel venation. Xylem bundles are arranged in a ring here, scattered here. Fibrous, taproot here. 3 multiples of 4 and 5. So basic difference between monocot and dicot students. Basic difference. Now, let's start some basics of your plant physiology students. Some basics. Shall we start? Yes students, we will start. Giridhar will start. Basically will start. Don't worry. It's starting very soon. Surprise coming up. Okay. Now students, those of you who love plant physiology, let me give you a basic difference right now. Okay. Now students, what do you understand in plant physiology? Basic thing. In plant physiology, you understand the working or the mechanism of the entire plant. For example, in plant physiology, in the starting, we had 5 chapters. We had the entire mineral nutrition, right? We had transport in plants, right? And the transportation, right? So those chapters are removed right now. Now the main 3 chapters are photosynthesis in higher plants, respiration in plants, and plant growth and development. In photosynthesis, we learn how plants can prepare their own food, how plants can trap the sunlight. All that you learn here, students. All that you learn here. How plants can trap the sunlight and everything. Okay. Then in the respiration chapter, you learn about how plants can use the food and produce energy. And in the last chapter, we learn about hormones there. Hormones. Okay. Now, students, what exactly happens in the case of photosynthesis? In the case of photosynthesis, what happens is plant is using the light energy, converting into the chemical energy. Okay, as food here. Now, students, here all of you should know there is something called as your light reaction, and dark reaction here. Light reaction and dark reaction. Both are very important here. In light reaction, I'll be teaching you something called, students, how the plants will trap the light, how they trap the light. You'll be talking about photosystems here. We'll be talking about photosystems here. We'll be talking about something called as LHC here, light harvesting complexes. We'll be learning about cyclic and non-cyclic, cyclic and non-cyclic photophosphorylation here. What exactly happens there? What is cyclic and non-cyclic? In dark reaction, you will be learning something called as C3 cycle, C4 cycle and C2 cycles. Very easy again, students. Here in dark reaction, we understand how plants are making the food. How plants are making the food, we understand your dark reaction. Now, one thing comes to mind right now. We know light reaction, we know dark reaction. But where does it happen? Where does the light reaction and dark reaction takes place? Anyone who can tell me, students? Anyone? Where does the light reaction and the dark reaction takes place? Anyone? Anyone can tell me, students? This entire thing happens in a structure called as chloroplast. First of all, chloroplast. Now, in this chloroplast, there are multiple organelles, multiple structures here. Students, do you want to see the chloroplast? Students, first of all, I want all of you to see this is a typical eukaryotic cell. Typical eukaryotic cell. Now, if you immerse here, you can see there is a center nucleus, there is something called as a Golgi body, there is ER, centrioles. So, students, if there is centrioles here, this becomes an animal cell. This becomes an animal cell right now because there is centrioles. You can find mitochondria, you can find ribosomes everywhere. This is a typical your animal cell here, animal cell. Now, students, but if you look at a plant cell, the story is different. If you look at a plant cell, the story is different. Let me show you, students. Let me show you. In the case of plant cell, there is a separate organelle called as, students, called as chloroplast. See this. This right here is a typical chloroplast, students. This right here is a typical chloroplast which is found in the case of your plant cell. In the case of plant cell. Now here, if you notice very clearly, students, it has double membrane, it has an outer membrane, it has an outer membrane, inner membrane. Now, students, if you look at a chloroplast on the inside, it has multiple coin-like structures here. Can all of you notice here, students? There are multiple coin-like, there are coin-like structures. These coin-like structures are called as thylakoids. Thylakoids. Each coin is called as a thylakoid. Now, what happened to the what about the entire stack here? When multiple thylakoids join together, this entire stack is called as grana. Entire stack is called as grana. Now, what about this connecting link? It is called as lamellae. Okay, it's called a stromal lamellae. That is granal lamellae. Okay, granal lamellae. This entire grana and this grana are connected to each other with the help of a link here. That is the link here. Now, students, all of you should know by now, right? All of you should know a chloroplast has its own DNA. It has its own ribosomes. Can anyone tell me which type of ribosome do you find here? 70S or 80S? We find 70S ribosome here. 80S in the case of the entire cytoplasm. Okay. This is your entire chloroplast where the entire reaction happens. Now, you might be wondering, students, where do you think the light reaction happens and where do you think the dark reaction happens? The entire light reaction happens with thylakoid and the stromal lamellae, here, granal lamellae. On this lamellae and this thylakoid grana, light reaction happens. Now, what about dark reaction, students? Dark reaction actually happens in the entire stroma here. Stroma, can you see? The stroma is the matrix here, matrix. So, in that matrix, the entire dark reaction happens. And students, let me tell you, in the dark reaction itself, the food is produced in the dark reaction. Okay. Now, what about respiration, students? What do you learn in respiration plants chapter? In respiration chapter, students, we understand something called as how plants are using the food to produce energy. Energy in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Okay. Now, how do they do it? there are multiple steps, students. There are multiple steps. In respiration, students, there are multiple steps in respiration. The entire respiration starts with, let's say we have a glucose here. We have a glucose here. Now this glucose is entering a pathway right now called as glycolysis. And this entire glycolysis takes place in the cytoplasm. In the cytoplasm. Okay. Now, after glycolysis, what do we get? After glycolysis, we get something called as pyruvate. Pyruvate. Okay. Now, students, this pyruvate now enters one more reaction called as link reaction, also called as gateway reaction. Gateway reaction. It is also called as what? It is also called as the oxidative decarboxylation reaction. Do not worry if you do not know, I'll teach you eventually. Okay. Now, after this, what do we get? After this, we get something called as acetyl CoA, students. Acetyl CoA. Okay, acetyl CoA. Now, this acetyl CoA now enters one more reaction which happens in the mitochondria matrix, that is called as Krebs cycle. Krebs cycle. Now, students, remember this much. This gateway link reaction as well as Krebs cycle, both of them takes place in the case of mitochondria. They happen in the mitochondria matrix. Mitochondria matrix. Now, after Krebs cycle, what do we have, students? After Krebs cycle, what happens is that, students, in your glycolysis, in your link reaction, and in Krebs cycle, there is always release of something called as NADH and FADH. Okay, NADH and FADH. This NADH and FADH are now taken into one more process called as ETC, electron transport chain, or ETS, electron transport system, whatever you call it. So this is how, student, this is how plants can may get the entire energy. Now from this entire ETC, ATP are produced. Again, students, ATP is also produced in your glycolysis also. ATP is also produced in the Krebs cycle also, remember that. Okay. So don't worry, this you will learn, entire thing you learn. And students, this entire thing is called as aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration. What about anaerobic respiration? That is different. Fermentation, lactic acid fermentation. That is different altogether. Okay. DNA batch started. DNA batch started last week. I am teaching the cell chapter right now. Cell chapter. Okay. This is your overview of entire respiration plants chapter. Okay. Now, students, what about plant growth, students? What about plant growth? What do we understand from this chapter? From this chapter, we understand when a plant is growing, what are the stages, and also when the plant is growing, what are the hormones involved here. That is the main thing which you need to understand here. What are the hormones? And these are plant hormones. Plant hormones. Yes, plants also have hormones. Plants also have hormones. Remember that much. Okay. Now, what type of hormones? There is something called as auxin, gibberellins, cytokinins. These three are called as growth promoters. Then there is something called as ethylene, the gas hormone, which is neutral. It is promoter inhibitor. Then there is something called as ABA, also called as abscisic acid, which is growth inhibitor. So all of these different hormones has different functions, which you will be learning in the coming classes, students. In the coming classes. Okay. Now, students, what about microbes chapter? Microbes is very easy. I'll give you this mind map. I will teach you the entire microbes chapter. Very dead easy chapter. Here you need to know the examples. Everything works on examples here. Nothing more. Students, again in the case of your morphology chapter also, examples are there. Now again, students, I have tricks for your entire morphology. Entire morphology tricks are there. So morphology will become very easy. Morphology will become very easy, students. Don't worry. Okay. Now, students, genetics. This is a, what do I say? If you love maths, you love this, because in genetics you will encounter numericals. Yes, you have numericals here. Yes, in biology we have maths also here and there. In genetics, students, there are two main chapters there. One is called as principles of inheritance. One is called as a molecular basis. In principles of inheritance, students, we understand about the Mendel's work. There is something called as Mendelian and non-Mendelian. All of you might be aware, if you're in class 10th, you might have understood something called as monohybrid, dihybrid. You learn it here. Incomplete dominance, codominance, you learn it here. Okay. In the principles chapter, in the principles of inheritance chapter, we learn that. We also learn something called as chromosomal theory of inheritance. Then we learn the different types of your diseases here. Chromosomal disease, Mendelian diseases like color blindness, hemophilia, thalassemia, right? Phenylketonuria, sickle cell anemia, all that we learn. We also learn about Turner syndrome, Klinefelter syndrome, as well as your Klinefelter syndrome, Down syndrome. Okay. Now, what about molecular base of inheritance? In MBOI, students, in MBOI, we understand about your transcription, translation, genetic DNA, genetic material, RNA, genetic RNA, right? Then we learn about the protein synthesis, human genome project, and everything. So again, students, these two are the chapters which have the highest weightage chapters, highest weight chapters. Okay, even in 2025 also, many questions came from these two chapters. From these two chapters. Okay. Now, what about the last unit called as ecology? What do you understand ecology, students? Ecology is a very cute thing, but it can be a monster also. It can be a big monster. Why? Because many students ignore ecology and keep the ecology to a very last moment, and then they realize that ecology is actually very vast and you have to remember a lot in ecology. And as a matter of fact, ecology had more questions compared to any other unit apart from your genetics. So ecology is the second highest weightage unit, more than plant physiology, more than human physiology. You heard that right. Ecology has more weightage than human physiology. That is how ecology is. It can be a game changer. Okay. Now let me just tell you one small thing, students. What do you understand ecology? Now let's say a bird is singing, or the bird is singing outside. Now you ask two questions here. Okay. You ask how the bird is singing. Yes or no? The bird is able to sing above because of the vocal cords in the bird. That is the scientific approach that we learn in anatomy. But students, in ecology, we learn why the bird is singing. Why? Is there any reason for it to sing? Yes, it could be. It could be for calling someone, mate or mating, or it could be any kind of signal also. So in ecology, we understand the behavior of organisms. We learn about something called as organism and population. We learn something called as ecosystem, where we learn about biotic, abiotic factors interacting among each other. Then we learn about biodiversity and conservation. So that is your entire botany for your NEET syllabus, students. So how many of you are excited, students? How many of you are excited for botany? Again, it may seem a lot, but it is not. It is very, very easy. By the end of 2 years or 1 year, you will be confident in botany. That is my guarantee, students. My guarantee. Okay. So I'll be a botany master teacher, students. I'll be a botany master teacher. So you can see, students, we have your living world, biology classification, plant kingdom, morpho anatomy, cell, biomolecules, cell cycle. Yes. Photosynthesis, respiration, plant growth. This is your entire chapters in your class 11th. In class 12th, we have sexual reproduction in flowering plants, principles of inheritance, molecular basis. Again, Gopika teaches that. Okay. Then we have microbes chapter. Then students, then we have the entire ecology at the very end. 3 chapters of ecology at the very end, students. At the very end. So that is your entire botany one shot. Now, students, imagine this one shot lecture. It can become hours together. Every single chapter here can take hours together, 3 hours, 4 hours. When I summarize the entire syllabus for you in 1 hour, it is actually very vast. Because remember students, your NEET journey is not a sprint. You finish one day, you take a rest, you go away. No. Your NEET journey is a massive marathon where consistency matters, moving forward matters more than anything ever. So if you're 2026 aspirant or 27 aspirant, remember this today itself. Motivation will last only for one day, but consistency will take you for the longest way. So it may seem a lot, but it is a lot. So if you're consistent, every single step, the entire syllabus is going to be at a grasp of your hand. Okay, students. So that was your entire thing. Okay. 28, don't have to worry. DNA batch, yes, DNA batch is paid batch, students. But students, if you are a 2026 aspirant, DNA batch is the best for you. But if you are a 2027 aspirant, let me tell you again, 27 aspirant, you have 2 years to go. If you have 2 years to go, students, we have the best solution for you, because if you have 2 years time is there, right? You need to spend the 2 years in the most best way possible. And that is only possible if you have a dedicated team with you, dedicated timetable, schedule, academic mentor, proper notes, guidance, academic sessions, everything consistently throughout the 2 years. For the very same reason, I think Shreyas would have told you also, right? Let me just remind you one more time, students. Let me just remind all of you, right? If you go here, students, if you go to the description of this box, right here, okay, right here, students, you will here, if you go click here, this right here, students, okay, you have to add here, okay. Now this will lead to one more page here, that is called as Vedantu Pro. Now why is it called as Pro? You'll be wondering, students, what is the difference between Pro and anything else in the world? Very simple explanation. What exactly happens in your online coaching if you're not consistent? Imagine you're in a class, you end up looking here and there, you get distracted and you feel demotivated and you leave away. But in Vedantu Pro, we have a AI monitoring system called as proctoring, where if you look here and there, you will get a signal that you're not paying attention. If you're not attending classes, you will get a call, a mentor will talk to all of you. Yes, there will be one-on-one live doubt solving, 3-way actually, within the class, after the class, weekly doubt solving, right? This is Vedantu Pro. Now if you want to experience the feel of Vedantu Pro, like, sir, it sounds very fancy, how can I experience this? If you want to experience Vedantu Pro, all you need to do is, students, book a demo. See, very simple rule. When you want to buy something, you want to experience it first, then you buy it. Yes or no? So you can book a free demo right now. If you add this information, then description, you have a link, click on the link, it will take you to a page, this way, page. In this entire page, you can fill all the information possible here, whatever is asking given here, and then you will get a call. And once you get the call, students, you will be taken to a journey of Vedantu Pro, where you can experience the feel of Vedantu Pro, and then you take a decision, students. Then you take it. This is especially for 2027 students. 2026 also can take this, because there is a Vedantu Pro for 1 year also. So if you want to experience 2026 students also want to experience, they can also experience here, students. They can also experience here. Let me just show you again, students. This is a session right now. If you go to description right here, you can click here, students. Again, there's a massive discount going on right now. So talk to them, ask for discount. Talk to them and ask for discount also. There's a discount going on, students. So if here is the link, click on the link and fill the sheet here, students. Fill the sheet. So students, that is your entire botany for the next coming year, students, coming year. So I hope all of you are ready. Entire bot army is ready, right? So I will see you in the next lecture. Until then, all of you take care and have a great day ahead, students. And bye-bye all of you. Bye-bye.